Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of the LympFit Coaching Podcast. I'm Coach Caleb here with you today talking about the miracle of our gut. So this is an amazing thing that, man, I've been studying the gut for a really long time. It feels like for seriously like over 12 years, like through college and all the way up through now. And man, the more I study it, the more I see that, wow, the gut is just this miraculous thing. It's just really amazing thing that we often take for granted, and it's so resilient for all the things that we put it through. But man, today I want to take you through a little bit of a journey of the gut, but also talk about, man, just the microbiome that's within our gut today, and just the miracle it is, why we shouldn't take it for granted, and why it's super important to actually care for our gut, and how it can really transform the way you live, the way you feel. And so let's take a quick journey on all the way through your digestion. So this will be fun, just quick journeys, kind of sum it up. It's not going to be all inclusive, but so you put a bite of food in your mouth, it enters into your mouth and you start chewing it, and like you get soaked in saliva. I know this is getting a little graphic here, right? But man, but just by chewing it, you are breaking that food down. You're preparing it for digestion. You're already sort of like processing that food yourself, and your saliva begins to release these enzymes that already begin breaking down the carbohydrates, so it's ready to be digested and absorbed. And then this amazing thing takes place where you swallow, and it activates this cool muscle contraction that moves food all the way through the entire tube of your GI tract. And so it's called peristalsis, and this is what moves the food. It's like squeezing a hose, and it just moves that food down all the way through your digestion. And this is why you can even swallow while you're upside down, but always works better if you're right side up. And then it hits your stomach, and all the right valves are working, so it doesn't go back up the wrong way. It's pretty amazing this takes place. And yeah, this sometimes this isn't perfect for all people. They might be having some issues that limit this, but in a well working for a majority of us, all the valves are working well. It hits our stomach, and then this release of acid takes place in our stomach, and our stomach is just working like crazy. Our stomach is this really muscular organ that just churns our food and breaks it down better than a blender into this liquid that's ready to be absorbed. And there's already some absorption taking place, but it's crazy. In the stomach, there's like some of the most powerful acids known to man within your stomach that are breaking this food down. And at the same time, there's like this mucous membrane on your stomach that keeps your stomach from digesting itself and putting a hole in your body. So it's pretty crazy. And even while it's in your stomach, there's like this whole cascade of hormones that takes place to let your body know, let your brain know, like, hey, I'm full, I got enough. And this is a miracle in itself, because like this cascade of hormones adjusts to what your body needs, and your body knows when it needs more, it knows when it needs less, according to your activity and other stresses and things going on in life. Your body knows when it needs more or less. And so your stomach works this food over, it gets it all ready, and sends it straight into the small intestine. This is where all the action takes place. A ton of the action takes place of actually absorbing your food, all the nutrients in it. And so once it gets into the small intestine, that acid is neutralized, and then your liver, your gallbladder, your pancreas, they flood in a bunch of enzymes and things that help you digest and break down this food and all of the proteins and the fats and everything. And your intestine has this semi-permeable layer that is just like this thin layer that's in between your food and your blood, that it's semi-permeable because it allows some stuff in and it keeps the other stuff out that you don't want in your body. So it's just amazing to see that this all takes place over a period of hours, that it can absorb so much. And it's crazy, like even within your small intestine is like this massive surface area, and so it can absorb everything that it possibly can. And once it gets everything out of your food, it sends the rest to your large intestine, where water and some other nutrients are absorbed. And then you can probably figure out what happens next after your body's done with getting everything it can out of it, and it gets it out of there. And so that's super, super short, not all inclusive, but I want to rewind back to the small intestine, because this is where the real magic happens, where some of the most important parts of our digestion take action in our microbiome. And so what is that microbiome? This is bacteria, this is some fungi, and man, within our gut, there's, researchers estimate around 10 to 100 trillion microorganisms. That is an absurd number. Most of us can't even think of that. And like that's like multiple times even what the national debt is, in America. It's crazy. But those live within our GI tract. And even amidst those, there's around 15 to 36,000 individual species of microbiota. So, whoa, that is a lot. And so it sounds crowded, right? Well, this is actually a good thing because these are mostly probiotic. That means they're good bacteria. And so by packing in all that good stuff, it kind of crowds out all the bad stuff. And so that's a really good thing that our body does because this keeps out the bad bacteria, viruses, bad fungi, or parasites. And so it's a big deal because up to 70% of our immunity is dependent on our gut. I'll say that again, up to 70% of our immunity is dependent on our gut. So, if 70% of your immunity is dependent on your gut, then maybe we should value our gut, right? Like what goes in, how it's doing, how do we maintain that? And so, what's even more amazing is that this diverse microbiome is as unique as a fingerprint. Everyone is a little different, which makes it makes sense why every single person, every individual can have a little bit different response with different food. And so no one person can be treated the same as far as like how do they absorb food, how does they react to food, how does their body treat what they're eating. So let's go a little bit more detail. What does this microbiome do for us? How does it actually help our digestion? Why do we need all that? Well, here's a quick list for you. First of all, it helps us digest and absorb nutrients. That's a big deal. It produces nutrients for us, such as vitamins B and K, as well as short-chain fatty acids. So this helps us have the energy and the vitamins and the minerals that we need. It keeps the system moving. It keeps bad bacteria and other pathogens from settling in and growing. It helps metabolize medications and plant chemicals, or phytonutrients, which are important for keeping your inflammation low. It synthesizes polyamines, which affect our cell growth, so our cell health. They produce coagulation and growth factors. It produces cytokines. These are like cell signaling molecules. It regulates our secretion and use of intestinal mucus. It helps regulate blood flow to the internal organs. And so, in other words, whatever happens in our GI tract can affect our overall immunity, even our lungs, our skin, and many other things in our bodies. So this microbiome within our gut is incredibly important. So it's no wonder why probiotic foods are kind of like a fad right now. It's nothing new, but it's been rebranded, and there's tons of like probiotic supplements and foods and stuff that are really popular, but there's nothing new. It's been there through the ages in different forms. But man, this is something that if it's so popular right now, then it's good to ask yourself why. And so that's why we're addressing this today. And so what happens if that microbiome gets thrown off? What if you just don't care about it? You're like, nah, whatever. I'm just going to eat what I want. So what happens if it gets thrown off? Well, first of all, like what does throw it off? Lots of things could throw it off. Could even be something simple as like stress. If you're living a high stress life, then you might deal with, it might disrupt your gut because it's going to mess with the digestion, the way your body's responding to food because you can't relax. But other things that can disrupt it could be taking short or long-term antibiotics. That can wipe out a lot of that good bacteria, kill it, and then that leaves you more sensitive to lots of things. So, or getting sick with something that causes diarrhea or vomiting, that can kind of like clear out your system. Eating a lot of really processed foods can throw it off. Stuff that just doesn't have time to be absorbed, it's not really going to feed that bacteria well. Or even obesity can be something that affects that microbiome within your gut. So what happens whenever this is affected in a negative way? Well, here's a quick list for you. You can have poor digestion. That could be things including like stomach ulcers or gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD for short. And you can have issues with intestinal motility, like you can get constipated or have diarrhea. You can have like acid reflux, things like that. You can have mood disorders. You get depression or anxiety because you're not getting good absorption. You can have overgrowth of pathogens or organisms, like you can get a yeast infection. You have poor clearance of medications and hormones. So like you can get like estrogen dominance, for example. Like that's not good for men. Even for women, it's not a great thing to have too much of that dominance. It can lower your immunity, so you can get frequent bugs. You get sick real easy if your gut biome isn't doing well. You can have skin problems like acne, eczema, and other types of rashes that pop up frequently or get inflamed easily. You can develop food sensitivities or intolerances. Isn't that crazy? You can be intolerant to food just because your microbiome within your gut isn't doing super well. And I'll address that more in a future episode specifically on food intolerances, because that's a big topic nowadays. And so what can you do right now to improve your gut? I hope that seeing like how important the gut is, everything it does for you, helps you have a little bit more of at least a consideration of like, man, I want to take care of my gut now. Think about that today. So what can you do right now to improve your gut? You can eat fermented foods. That's one thing you can do. Like a few that you could try could be like yogurt or kefir, cultured cottage cheese, sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented soy foods like miso or tempeh or sourdough breads. So you could also take a multi-spectrum probiotic supplement. And so this is just like a pill that you keep in the fridge, and you take one a day. So these usually need to be kept in the fridge because that keeps the bacteria alive longer. Or you could even grow your own produce, like your own fruits and vegetables in a garden on your property, and grow it with no chemicals or fertilizers. You could even like do some of your own composting, and fertilize it that way. And you can, so whenever you eat it without washing it, some of the natural bacteria from the soil that gets on that produce can really be good for your gut microbiome. And so these are just a few things that you could even start doing right now to take better care of that gut. But I hope today shows you a little bit about like what the gut can do for you. And it's an amazing thing. And I've noticed even in my own personal life, whenever I've cared more for my gut, whenever I've worked on eating slowly, worked on breathing well, when I've worked on getting probiotic foods, whenever I've worked on lowering my stress, doing a lot of things to help with that, that has helped my gut be very strong. Not just for being able to eat a lot of different things, especially things that are kind of unexpected, I didn't see coming, and my gut was able to deal with that. But I also get sick less. My immunity is stronger. And so in this time in the world, whenever there's lots of things going around, especially like a scary thing called COVID-19, it can be really important to do the little things right now to maintain your gut health. But not only for your immunity, but also for just better performance, for just feeling better, for digesting better, for getting over different food intolerances. Doing little things to maintain your gut microbiome can really help you live your best life. And so this is just a quick episode about the importance and the miracle of your gut. It's a miraculous thing. It's one of the most important things. You don't see it, but you feel it. It affects who you are. It affects how you feel, and it affects your confidence, and it affects your performance, and it affects the way you look. And so take care of your gut today. And I hope this was a beneficial episode for you. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.